Hey guys, welcome back to Useless Nipples podcast, podcast about family, parenting, marriage, lifestyle, and everything in between. You're here today with your hosts, Mike
and as always, Allie. What's up, guys?
always.
How's it going? It's been a hot minute. Life got crazy. But I was telling Mike that I had a really, I don't know, I have a topic that I gotta get out and I have to have his side for it. Tell me why when your wife gets upset. Okay, this is a twofold one, right? There's two parts in this.
All right.
Tell me why when your wife gets upset, you in return feel like you have the right to be upset too at that very moment.
Oh,
Tell me why.
This is my favorite one. This is one of my favorites.
Let me give an example. Hold on before you answer.
Please.
So in case other people don't experience and we're like the one off, I feel like we need to tell it, like give a good example. For example, the other day, I had spent the whole day cleaning. I had spent the entire day working. We had people coming into town. I might have been that time of month, so I might have been a little short. Okay. Or I think this was last weekend, and Jet's birthday party was Sunday, and I was trying to get everything done. So on top of working, momming, getting the house ready, and all of that, Tom comes in and he sits on the couch, and I get irritated that there's all this to do, and he was sitting on the couch. So naturally, I am now irritated. Something else happened that triggered me, though. I can't remember, so it's not a great example, but I was irritated. All of a sudden, his energy shifts, and he is now mad at me. And it makes me mad that he's mad at me when he doesn't get the right to be mad. And I feel like I should have a moment of being mad. You know what I'm saying? Don't start cracking your back and rotating at me because you know exactly how this feels. I deserve that right. Tell me why you deserve to be angry at the same time.
Okay, so first of all, funny thing is I get the opposite. I get it from Ash. So I'm actually on your side on this.
Really?
So yeah, let's start there. As I receive the same thing from Ash whenever I have like a complaint, and then I get this one all the time. It's like, you only point out what I don't do, and I'm like, that's not true. I think those ones stick the most because you're not doing it, and I'm But here's the real reason it goes that way is because when someone's telling us something, especially our partners, we take it as a criticism. We don't take it as a, hey, can you help me out? It's like, oh no, you're judging me. You're telling me I'm not doing enough. You're telling me that my work is not enough, that I don't contribute. We take it all the wrong type of ways. Look, if I was at your house in particular, if I was visiting you guys and I'm sitting on your couch and you're cleaning away and you go, yo, Mike, got a lot going on. Do you mind grabbing a broom and like sweeping up for me? Yo, I'm going to hop up. I'm going to run over, grab the broom. I'm going to sweep the best I've ever swept in my life. I'm going to give it 110. You know what I mean? I'm going to start sweeping the curtains. You can go, whoa, you don't need to do that. I'm going to be batting them with a stick, getting all the dust off. Because first of all, I want to, right? I love you. You're my friend. You're my family, and I want to help you. But second of all, like, you never ask anything of me. We don't, you know what I mean? It's a pleasure to help you. If my wife did that to me, like, yo, baby, I've been at the gym all day. I'm tired. I want to sit down. I want to take a nap. Like, don't I do enough? We take it so personal. We take it it's not good. That's not a good answer, but that's kind of what's happening. At least when I do it to her too. I threw her under the bus, but I definitely do it to her too.
Sorry, Ash.
Yeah, it's like, dude, like we did it the other day in the car, and me, I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to talk through it. So I'll say something, whatever, what it is, like, hey, I would really prefer if you did this or didn't do that. Awkward silence. I was like, okay, what are you upset about? And I know what she's upset. I know what she's upset about. She's upset that I'm giving her shit. I'm giving her a hard time. And then we try and talk our way through it. And I'd say 30% of the time we get through it. 70% of the time turns into a bigger issue.
Go somewhere else.
Oh, it's so bad. And it's funny. That's her biggest pet peeve is talking through things that are like really meaningless.
Yeah.
like little things. She's like, why do we have to have an hour conversation about the smallest things? Well, just like, and I tell her, unfortunately, we aren't good at communicating. It takes us an hour to get through this and find a, the solution or just the understanding. I mean, really, that's all we're seeking is understanding.
Yeah.
Like, you're working really hard. In your head, you're like, look, dude, I'm getting ready for our family to come. I'm preparing this for our son. I need a little bit of help. I still have all my other duties. And on top of that, I got this stuff going on. You would expect that your partner would just jump up and kind of like help out. And of course, he probably knows this. It's going on in his head. But he's like, man, I'm tired. Yeah, I've been working. I just want to sit down for 5 minutes. Like in the back of his head, he's not even relaxing because he's waiting for you to get mad. He's like, I know she's gonna get mad. It's gonna happen any minute. I just gotta take 2 more minutes. Oh, fuck, there it is. Boom.
But like, you know what it is? And so here's the real reason. As we're talking about, I'm slowly starting to remember like bits and pieces. Okay, I had been cleaning the house all day on top of working my actual job. And Jet was home from daycare because Tom had just got him, or I had just got him. It doesn't matter either way. And I was still cleaning the house, trying to get things done for the party, feeding Jet dinner. And then Jet was done eating. And so Jet is now at my feet crying, wanting this, that, and the other. And Tom is sitting on the couch. And so I literally look at him like, okay, Jet, why don't you go get dad? Because he's clearly not doing anything. So yes, did I make a dig? I did. I apologize. I accept my
Yeah.
wrong here. But then I
Yeah.
was irritated because it's like, you know that I'm cleaning. You know that I am now picking up after our son. He's now at my feet complaining, like, jump in anytime. The water's
Mhm.
fine. Like, good
Yeah.
temperature. Come on in and help me out here. And so I get irritated, right? And so later in the day, because I could tell his mood changed, like we ended up going play outside. And Tom's like just sitting there, like not communicating with me. And then it dawns on me, oh my God, he's mad. And
Mhm.
I'm thinking, the audacity that you have to be mad at me when I am mad at you. Not fair. Not okay. So I look at him and I was like, how are you going to get off being upset at me when I feel like I need the space to be mad at you right now? Like, this isn't about you. See yourself out and
Right.
let me be irritated. And
Right.
he's like, it's not that I don't think you have the right to be upset with me, because you do. It's like, I just don't like it when you like direct it at me. Well, I don't like it when you can see that you need to get up and help your wife, but here we are. And it just boggles my mind.
I have a question for you. So,
Sure,
and then we have completely different situations,
sure.
but there's a lot of similarities. So my question would be, if let's say Jet's throwing a fit, he's at your feet, he really wants you, and Tom walks over, what does that interaction look like? Is it a peaceful one? Is it kind of like, oh, cool, like now he's with dad? Or is it like a fight? Is it a struggle? Is it a crying? Is it a fit? Does it get worse? Like, what does it look like if Tom was to run over and pick up Jet, walk away from you, let you continue doing what you're doing, and
Yeah,
try to
no, Jet
entertain
would
him?
have a fit and then want back with me. I get that.
Right.
I
No, no. So
get
I'm
where you're
just,
going with
yeah, no,
this.
no, no, no. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just asking for my own sake, because when I do this, it happens with Ashley, maybe she's trying to prepare something. And here's the kicker is I get mad at her for this too. So I'm going to throw myself under the bus. My wife's deciding we're going to go somewhere, whatever it is. She was making snacks. Okay. Johnny only wants her. He's like climbing the fence to get into the kitchen to get to her. So he gets it. She lets him in because it's enough, get fine, come in here.
Yeah.
Now he's on her leg. Now she has to hold him. And now I'm looking at her and I'm like, I could go grab him. It's going to be terrible. He's going to scream and cry and fit. I have to leave the house.
You're like
Right.
processing all scenarios in your head
Yeah.
at this moment.
Yes. So I'm like, okay, scenario one, I snag him from her. I walk outside and hope he calms down outside in a minute or two. And it probably would just take a minute or two, not much. But then I'm stuck outside. I can't go back inside. I can't go anywhere near her because as soon as he sees her, it's gone. It's on again. Option two, to ignore it, right? To like leave it be and kind of like just let her deal with the situation. And then she tends to pick him up or do whatever. So then I'm left with option three. Option three is do the task that she was going to do.
Mhm.
Let her console him, and then I go do it. So typically it's option three that I end up doing. But I'm a smart ass and I always have a comment about it. And
Stubborn.
so it comes like this. Ash is making snacks. Now she's got one arm. I walk in the room. What are you doing? just move out of the way. I'll do it. I gotta do everything around here. Something to that effect. You know what I mean? I'm just like paraphrasing myself, but it's something to that effect. That's like, so am I helping? Kind of. Did I, was I kind of a
No.
jerk about it? Totally. I didn't really help. I made it worse. Now she's like, oh, great. Now he's complaining and I got a baby complaining. So it's like,
Serious
yeah,
question though. Do you just carry a shovel with you wherever you are to dig that
I like
grave?
to, I like to stay in the dig into hell of a workout. Yeah, man. It's weird that I know this about myself and I continue to do it.
Yeah.
I don't mean it. I really don't mean it. Like in the moment, like my little immature self pops up and it's like, say something stupid. And I'm like, okay. And then later on, I'm like, dude, what were you thinking? And I'm like, I don't know. That was a mistake. Got to rethink.
Probably just makes you feel better in that moment.
Like a
Yeah.
child feels better, when like you say the last word. I'm like, no, I said the last word. And then I walk away.
But look, it is a good question because I think if I'm right, what you're saying is what is the right answer in that situation? Right? Is that the question
Yeah.
ultimately?
I don't even know if it's a question as much as it's just like, why do I run through these processes when I know what the right answer would be?
Yeah, but
It would
everyone
be any of
does.
them. Yeah, it would
Yeah.
be any of them.
Because for me, I think it depends on the situation. Like on that given day, at that given point, I had already been knee deep in everything else. And then you come home, and I understand that you're tired, which I really do understand. Like, we all know Tom works ridiculous hours. So I
Sure.
could totally see how you just want a moment to relax. I just don't think that's the moment to relax. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like, there's a place and
Yeah.
time, and I don't think that was it. So if you see me struggling and Jet's on my leg and he wants me to pick him up, and most of the time I'll try to incorporate Jet in whatever I'm doing, but that doesn't always work out that way. Like when I'm knee deep in dishes, I don't know why I'm always knee deep in something, but
You gotta
apparently.
be, that's parenthood. That's
So when I'm cleaning dishes and also trying to clean up the kitchen, and then now there's this screaming kid, like that would be the point where you come in and finish the dishes. Like option
right.
3,
Right.
just don't have a comment because
Yeah.
then I'll
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
lose my shit.
Which is what happens at my house. And I always got a comment. You know me, I always have a comment.
Oh, I
I always
know.
consist. I'm such a smart ass. I don't mean to be. I can't blame anyone else, but it's just like a trained thing. And I'm quick on it. I just go, boom, say it. I'm like, damn it. They left my mouth before I got a chance to stop it. It just leaves.
Just
And I'm
comes
like, oh
out.
no, the comment's out there now. And she heard it. I'm
Here's the
waiting.
Now you're in trouble. Now you're
Now
just
I'm in trouble.
waiting. Here's the other side of it though. Okay. And I actually talked to your wife about this because I was so at my wits' end, but I want to hear
Oh,
your take on it because I believe we both know the answer. Like she told me the answer, and right when she said it, I was like, dang, I think that's it. But I want to hear your answer.
yeah.
So, as they don't know, I was very sick a couple weeks ago, a month ago.
Mhm.
Well, this type of sickness was like not a normal cough. Like it actually put me out. So, like I had to be on bed rest for a couple of days by the doctor because I had pneumonia. So I couldn't help with anything. I was completely out. This was not your typical mom moment. I mean, moms don't get a break when you're sick. You keep going and you work through it. And I
Right.
had for so long until it put me in the hospital, and then I had to be on bed rest. So Tom had to take over and do all of the things that I would normally do but couldn't. And I had to ask him for a few things, or I had to ask him to do this. And I could tell that he was starting to become frustrated and irritated with me. And I was in shock
That's
because
interesting.
this isn't a type of cold where like I'm being a little baby about it, push through and do better. Because yes, I will admit I am not a good sick person. I know it's
Mhm.
always the opposites where people joke like when their husbands are sick, they're like a newborn
Right.
baby and can't do anything.
Yeah.
I am typically like that. Tom is not. He will just push through. However, after having kids, you really learn there is not that time to like self pity and feel like you're dying. Like that doesn't exist.
Right.
So I've gotten so much better at it. But this one was an actual, like, I went to the doctor, was put on bed rest, wasn't allowed to leave the bed, like sick. And
Yeah.
I would ask him to get me water. And then I could tell he like huff about it. And then I was like, oh, are you kidding me? Like, you're mad at me? And I couldn't believe, like, why in your head I don't even know if I'm answering this question correctly, but like, why? Why do men get so irritated when you're sick and you can't do anything?
I think I have a few reasons. And
Okay, I'm curious because your wife
so,
told me, and I
yeah,
think she's right. So now you have to tell me what your answer is.
okay. Let's go with the first more obvious one is that we're overwhelmed. You know, you guys handle quite a bit, and when you're out of commission, it can be a scary thing when
It's a
you're used
scary
to
thing.
scary. You're like running a certain way, and like I know I'm missing stuff. I know I forgot to feed Johnny, or something happened. I'm missing something. His diaper's been the same diaper he wore for 2 days. I don't know what's going on. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Nobody
I'm
calls
joking.
CPS. He's joking.
I'm totally joking. But you know what I mean? Things fall through the cracks. Like you know, you guys are on point with a lot of stuff. And vice versa, like we're on point with a lot of other stuff. Typically it's outside the house. I mean, maybe like
Yeah.
whatever, work or even literally the outside of the house, like the backyard. I take care of the dogs and stuff like that, whatever. So that stuff would fall through the cracks if I was out. Um, so the first one is overwhelmed,
Okay.
just overwhelmed, not mad, not actually upset at you at all. Overwhelmed, huffing and puffing because it's an internal thing where I'm like, I feel a little stressed out. The second one, and this one maybe isn't as big for everyone, but definitely for me, I hate seeing Ashley in like a bad way. I hate it. I hate it. It's like if she's hurt, if she's sick, if she's whatever. Yeah, it puts me in a panic, puts me a little bit of like a little bit of fear and a little bit of just like helplessness. I'm helpless. I can't
Hmm.
fix her. Right. And so that can manifest itself in different ways. It can be a huff and a puff. It could be some, you know, whatever, just stress, you know. But the thought isn't like, oh, Ash, get off your butt, you nut, you know, get out here and help me out. It's more like, oh man, like, I can't help her. Like, what can I do? And all these other things have to get done. And it's like that is the worst feeling in the world. You know, it's the worst feeling in the world. I had one experience with her when her back went out that about
Oh, yeah.
broke me early on. Like, this is gonna sound like a funny story because nothing happened, right? But I didn't know nothing was gonna happen. At the moment, it was like, I don't know what's happening, but I thought the worst. You know, she had hurt her back early in the day. She got an adjustment on it, probably too soon. It might have been the wrong thing to do. And so that night she comes home, she's in pain, like no problem. Like, here's a little heat pad, whatever, lay in bed, has a hard time getting up to even use the restroom. Middle of the night, she has to go to the bathroom. I help her up. We get her over there. I'm bringing her back and I'm like carrying her essentially, like helping her walk. And she's like, stops. She's like, oh, it's really bad. I'm like, okay, what's going on? And then she just goes unconscious. And so like, I'm literally holding my limp at the moment. At the time, she was my girlfriend, but my wife, she's limp in my arms. So I lay her on the bed. I'm crying, right? Because I'm like looking at my wife who's like limp in my arms. I'm like, I have no, I've had back pain. I've never passed out from back pain.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing, right?
Yeah.
Essentially, very scary. She comes to, she's looking at me and she goes, what happened? And I'm saying, nothing, you're fine, don't worry, nothing happened. And she went out again. So 2 times in a row, as I'm holding her, she passed out. Second time, I just called 911. I didn't care. I said, you know what, we just need help. So I just called 911. They show up. It wasn't anything crazy. They just put her on a stretcher to the hospital. They gave her some morphine. And that's all they could have done is really give me, I don't know if that was morphine or what they gave her, some pain meds to relax the back because it was the tension that was like making her tense and then she'd go unconscious. And I don't know the exact medical terms for that or whatever, but it was happening. That's all they did. Just pain meds and then she was fine. But like terrifying,
Yeah.
terrifying and helpless. Like literally she's going unconscious in my arms like twice. Like I didn't, there's the worst feeling in the world. So anytime that she's out of commission, anytime that she's like in need of help and I can't provide it, it puts me in a really just like I should, right? I should put my Superman cape on and like get ready to handle business and like get out there and chop up some food for my son and clean the
That's what I
house and
would
do
think.
this.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's like my kryptonite, and I end up going the other way, and I get like almost like, oh, like what do I do? I become helpless myself,
Yeah.
you know. She's helpless and I'm helpless, and it's a terrible thing. I try not to. I'm actively, you know, obviously trying not to. And now with Johnny, all you get to do is huff and puff. You don't get to collapse into whatever. So like Tom's huffing and puffing. Is it really about you? No, probably not. Does it have anything to do with the fact that you're sick? No, probably not. Not in the way that you're saying. Maybe it's in the sense of like, man, I hate when my wife's out. This is stressful. I really, I can really appreciate what she does, and it's hard to keep up. I think that's more where it came from, but it doesn't feel like that in the moment.
No, it feels so directed at me. But it's really funny because your wife said the exact same thing. She's like, Allie, I know I have the same thing with Mike. Like, I'll be out and then he's frustrated with me because I can't do something. And I'm like, yeah, what is that? And she goes, well, honestly, if you think about it, it's probably because it's natural for our husbands. I can't speak for everyone's husbands,
Right.
to be the strong ones, to always be able to fix something. And when you're sick, to the point where they can't do anything, they feel helpless. And then they're frustrated because they can't do anything about it. And all they want to do is help you or make you feel better or fix the problem. So when there isn't a problem that can easily be fixed, it's incredibly frustrating. But for Tom, it just feels like it's like directed at me in that moment. And so that makes me feel terrible. Like, I don't ask him for water, Allie, because you don't want to like impose on him.
Stop. Yeah, no.
Seriously, that's what it feels like.
But it takes us back to the initial question that you brought up. Why is it okay when someone else is mad for you then to be mad in return? So, and I'm not saying you are, I'm saying that in this circumstance, you're out, he's stressed, and now you're mad at him for being stressed. It's like, it's a funny thing. We take it personal. Personal. It's like if I saw, again, I'm going to use you and me as the example. It's the easiest thing to use. If I was in bed sick and I'm like, yo, Allie, I'm hurting, dude. Can you please give me some water? And you're like, yeah, hold on. Just, yes. And I went and got it. I'd be like, hey, man, I know you're stressed. I'm sorry for putting you out. And you'd be like, no, it's not you. It's the million other things that are going on. It has nothing to do with you. If you need anything, let me know. And that would be the end of it. But we don't do that with our spouses. What we do instead is we stay quiet. Like, oh, really? You want to hop and puff? All right, bro. All right. I see you.
I see you.
Wait till you come to bed.
Wait till you're sick, buddy.
Right? Wait till you ask me for water. I'm going to pour it on the floor right in front of you. But
are you thirsty?
No. Be a water bowl, the dog bowl. Go ahead. Drink up.
Haven't washed it in weeks.
But it's so funny. And it's like, if you do that exercise, I do that exercise all the time. Of like, I'll even use you. I really do use you in my mind a lot. I was like, if Allie asked me that, would I be this way? Would I make a comment? No, I wouldn't.
Different ties though, right? It's like a different type of relationship because it's not your everyday interaction, like your partner in crime. Like, I feel like there's something about your spouse that you feel like it is again, not everybody, but for me, it's a 50-50 load. And if you see that 50% is struggling, you have to step up and take care. Like, it's weird because I feel like for women almost, or at least for me, it's natural. It doesn't mean I'm not frustrated about it, but I clearly can see that he's down and out and I have to pick up the slack. Like, for instance, a couple of weeks ago, Tom was going through this huge work thing that happens every year and it's super demanding, and he ends up working even more hours, and then he works 7 days a week instead of 5 days a week. So he doesn't get any of that time off. So it's like he can't go and do anything that makes him happy, or things around the house that are typically like, I don't know, his chores, I guess, for lack of a better word, now become my chores. And so then for all that time being, I'm now taking on everything else. But I know that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no point in me being frustrated because I know he can't do anything about it. I know that he's working his butt off. I know that he's stressed out. I know that it probably stresses him out to know that he comes home and isn't necessarily picking up his end of the bargain. So this is my time where I have to step up and do the chores that he would normally do.
Does he verbalize that at all? Like, does he say anything to you that, or does anything to help you, to help show that he appreciates that? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, like, for sure. I mean, Tom, he'll tell me all the time how much he appreciates me and everything that he does and what I do for this family, and, and he'll love on me, and it's just super grateful. I think the difference is, and I could be wrong because I'm looking at it from my point of view, right? Like, I'm seeing what I see, not necessarily what he sees. And when I'm down and out, he will step up and do things. Again, maybe it's more expectation related because it's not necessarily how I would do things, or it's not everything that I do. It's just parts that he can think of.
Mhm.
But then he'll get, like, you could tell that he's visibly not agitated, but stressed out about it. So then I feel like it
Right.
kind of like trickles back to me. And instead of it being like, hey, babe, thank you. And maybe I need to be better, like, hey, babe, thank you so much for picking up the load. Instead, all I can think about is all the things that didn't get done,
Right.
not the things that he did do. So
And the
that's on
reason
me.
could be, because the reason I asked that too, it's like, I don't know, like you, because I know you a long time, you are detail oriented. You like to do things correctly. You like to get things done the right way, and you have a way to do it. If
Neurotic.
I was,
I think that's the word you're
yeah,
looking for.
yeah, that's another way to put it. If I was to come into your house and if I was to do a clean in your house my way, first of all, there's not much to clean.
That never
But
happened.
but if I did,
That never happened.
you would like it would do.
I couldn't, you would never happen.
You'd have to move. You'd have to move. What happened to my house? You'd have to leave. It just would not be right. At least not for a while.
Yeah.
Like you'd probably have to re-clean 3 or 4 times before you felt right again. So, that could be part of it. Part of it is just like the way you like things done. So then it
Yeah.
doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel like it was done right. And he might know that and then be like, oh man, I know I'm not gonna do this right. So there could be a little cycle there. Maybe, maybe not. Um, when you step up to handle things, I think that you're very conscious of the process. And so you do things the way Tom would do them. So I think that for one, because you like to, I think that's just part of like in your nature and you want to do things right. So, and he's really, I think it sounds like he's good at maybe verbalizing and showing you how much he appreciates, which is the next big piece is like, I'll do anything. I mean, it's so terribly needy of me, but like, I'll do anything for some praise. I'm like a dog, like you want to
I
give me a treat?
know.
What's that? What am I gonna get? What are we doing?
Tell me
You
how
gonna
good
pet
I
me?
am. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm wonderful. Thank you.
Good boy? Me? Oh, thanks. I'll do what do you want me to do? I'll do it. Want to wash the car? I'll do it. I'm a good boy.
Yeah.
But we're dogs, we're we're like that. So maybe you just give him an extra scratch behind the ear or something when he does do something right. So okay, this is actually really good.
Yeah, I think
This is a
you're
weird
right.
segue. Okay, and I'm gonna use an example because Deckers, my dog. You know this, and so the reason I say my dog is because I had this dog since before I met my wife. I think he was one or two, just over one when I met Ash. And so, like essentially he came up with me. I have a big sense of responsibility when it comes to him, more than I do with Maya, who's like a family dog. She's everyone's dog.
Mhm.
She's also a lot less responsibility. So fair enough. Like I don't even know. She just eats and then sleeps.
That's
Uh,
it.
that's it.
And
So
Jules.
and Jules a lot. I love giving her treats, but like it's like a flood comes out of her mouth. I'm like, oh, I don't want, like I love you, but I don't even, you don't get treats anymore. Um, but this brings me to my point. With Deckers, I was very much like discipline. Let's get things right. Let's do it right all the time, and I'm going to tell you when you do it wrong. Okay, not a terrible way to be, depending on who you are and how you do it. Definitely went the wrong way. More often than not, it didn't work for me at all. In the recent years, now I have Johnny. He's a year and a half. He's curious about the dogs. He wants to play. He makes a ton of noise. He bangs on stuff. He throws things. He's screaming. He's a nut. He's essentially a little me. And Decker's just terrified of him. Barked at him a couple of times. Kind of terrified of him. When he would come up to the gate and like bang on the gate where the dogs were. And this only happened once, but he kind of gave him a little, like a little, not a charge, but like a warning, like, hey,
Right.
like you're freaking me out, I didn't like that. So I started separating them a lot more, making sure Dexter's outside. We have a nice backyard, so it's not like I had to do too much, but I would keep the doggy door open. I have it closed. I'd let him in and out, or someone would let him in and out. And we make sure that Johnny didn't go to the gate anymore. And, I went the extreme caution way.
Okay.
Obviously it's my baby, of course. It's probably, this is what happened.
Yeah, you're gonna protect him first.
Gotta protect him first.
Yeah.
So my whole long-winded story is that now I was left with two decisions. It was make this work with dog and baby, or find him a new home because he's a great dog. He's a great dog, and someone will love him to death. So I'm left with those two choices, and I avoided the thought for months. I think I told you about this a little bit about the thing about rehoming him, and it was very hard on emotionally on us. I think he's 7 years old. So like I mean I've had him almost 8. He's 8 years old.
Yeah, a long time.
Long time. Been with me a long time. So I've had to restructure my way of thinking, restructure my way of being, and it's so stupid. I watch a lot of Disney Channel now because Johnny, and also because I'm a
Life,
child, because of me.
kids.
And they have this show called Disney's Animal Kingdom.
Uh-huh.
And now this is just a show, right? I don't know what it's really like behind the scenes, but it's essentially behind the scenes of the zoo. And they're talking about tigers and lions and rhinos and all this crazy stuff. And they're like, I need these animals to cooperate, these elephants to cooperate with me. And the way we do that is positive reinforcement. And so they're big on giving a treat and then seeing like, oh, that was what I wanted. They basically reward a desirable action. Hey, he opened his mouth, give him a treat because the dentist needs to look at his mouth. So every time he opens his mouth, you can extend the period of time that he keeps it open by waiting with the treat, but he knows he's going to get one every time, or whatever. That's kind of the
Instead
process.
of doing the opposite and causing a rebellion.
Yeah, or trying to punish or like poke
Right.
them or do something where it's like, open it, open it.
Right.
You can get a real bad result. So now I have a big old bag of Costco bag of treats every morning and afternoon. Johnny and I walk over to the dogs. I break off treats, and Johnny hand feeds the dogs treats now, and it's part of the ritual that we have at the house. And so now when Johnny approaches the gate or whatever, there's a sense of like, oh, this could be a reward. It's not going to be something daunting or scary because this kid's crazy and a maniac and he's throwing things at me, which he still does. He still goes over and throws blocks over or throws a ball over, but there's not that same reaction anymore. So this positive reinforcement has really allowed the dog to relax. It's allowed Johnny to find a new way to interact with him. And it's allowed me to see that there's more than one way to get things done. It doesn't have to be the dictator. I got to make sure he's safe. I don't have to keep them separate. I can bring them together in a positive way. But it's very hard to change. Me. Me. And that's 7 years of programming, more than that.
That mindset.
It's a decade or more worth of programming that, do dogs still need to have the rules? For sure. That's not going to go away. But like, as much as you correct, you can influence the other way too and say that was good. That was good. How often do we correct and not say that was good? And I'm using the dogs as an example because it's an extreme example of this. But with our spouse, it's no different. How often do we correct? But then when we get a desirable action, we don't make a comment. Or we think we do, but maybe not as much as they need.
Yeah.
Right? They just saying, thanks, I appreciate that. Maybe isn't enough. Like, I'm not saying you gotta go buy Tom a new gun every time he mops the floor. Although he'd love that. Your floor would be so clean.
All the time.
I could eat off that floor. But I don't know, and I'm more talking about this out loud for myself too. Like, I'd love to find little ways to really show it. I don't have a treat for Ash. If I did, I'd be like, hey baby, great job with Johnny today. My hand feed you this treat.
It's something to the extent of that.
Exactly.
It's actually that's a really good point. And it kind of got me thinking, like, I think there is a part of me that when I was sick, there's almost that expectancy, right? Like in your vows, it's better for worse. Well, this is worse. This is a worse part. And I would think it's your responsibility to help your wife out. But in return, instead of coming from that place of expectancy where I just think that he's automatically going to do it, you do it with a grateful heart. So when he does bring me that water, because I can't get out of bed, I get it myself. It's that, hey babe, thank you so much for picking up the slack today. Thank you so much for being there for Jet, because I really want to be and I can't right now. And I know that this is also really stressful for you. Thank you for being here for him. Thank you for being here for me. Thank you for doing all those little things that I can't do at the moment. And I think I did that, but maybe I didn't. Or maybe, there's also...
Maybe you did, but
And also
Sorry,
taking
I was.
advantage, no, you're good, but taking advantage of the situation too. Like,
Hmm.
ding, ding, ding. Can you please bring me some crackers? Ding, ding, ding. Can you please bring me
I
some
don't.
soup?
I don't buy that. I don't believe you do that. But like maybe the thank yous, I think for me, that's like I need to find a new way to say it because maybe the words just don't carry the same weight as they did before, you know. And I'm not gonna go buy Ash a new ring or new diamond or something like. But like gestures, I don't know. I don't know. That's that
Appreciation
whole
of
book on
value.
love. Yeah, the love languages and stuff, and like maybe certain things speak to her more than others, more than just the verbalization. Maybe there's another way.
What is her
No,
love language? Like, what's her love language in receiving?
I don't know. I don't know. It's sad, and I know some like I think we're all a little bit of all of them, but I'm not sure what her main one is, which is a giant problem. Not a giant problem, but like it could be a better
You
situation
can
if
make
I
sense of a
knew.
lot more things if you knew. Yeah.
And then maybe that's where the treat is. Like, okay, like you're not this kind of treat, you're this kind of treat. Cool. All right, now I know. You don't like chicken, you like beef. All right, cool. Whatever. Like we all got different tastes, different ways of receiving things. I know for me, words of affirmation is a big one.
Yes.
Physical touches is a major,
Yeah.
even a hug or a kiss, and that's for me. Like I'm desperate without it. Like I could be
Right.
really,
I'm trying to
it's
think
a
of
hard
like
time without.
what hers is. And I feel like quality time might be one of
Mhm.
hers, like time spent.
Totally.
But what else? Like, that's what, has she ever read the book?
Physical touches. No, we have
No,
it
it
though. I,
isn't.
I bought I bought it and I bought it for myself. I also bought like, I mean, you do that mistake where you buy like 5 books at once and you can
Yeah.
only read like 2 or 3 and the other two
Yes.
get lost.
Yeah. And then
So it's in
something
the
happens
house.
in life and you can't finish any of them because they're on the back
Yes.
burner then. Yeah. Totally get
So
that.
I switched to a lot of audiobooks now, which I can power through audiobooks pretty easily. But yeah, it's in the house
Same.
now somewhere. I gotta
Audible.
just read it.
Shout out to
Audible, yeah.
Audible if you want to sponsor us.
Yeah, yeah, please. Let's,
Yeah.
get us out there. But seriously, like these are the things that we need to learn about our like as much as I'm learning about my dog, it took me 7 years to figure that out. We have to put that same effort towards our spouses. And you think it, but I've been with Ash for 7 whatever 6 7 years now. You've been with Tom since you guys were babies. No, I mean it's been a long time.
Pretty much.
I
Yeah.
mean, don't know. Yeah, pretty much since
15
you guys were
plus
like
years.
teens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you would think that we'd have a better understanding. The truth is people change too. And then the appreciation of things change too. So maybe we have to continually
Well, I think that's
find what
it. You
motivates.
do change. People change. Things in life happen that maybe you respond to differently to now than you would before. Your stresses changed, your activities change. I mean, yeah, there's a part of when you're together with someone for a really long time, especially when you are in those pivotal moments of your 20s, because who you are at 21 to 25 to 30 is totally different people. Tom is someone I never would have expected him to be when we were 19 years old. I don't feel like maybe I've changed as much. I think I've always been pretty boring for the most part. I'm just kidding.
You've
But like
changed. You've changed so much.
really, but like Tom's interest at when we were younger compared to now, you
That's
cannot
true.
tell me that you would have thought that who Tom is today is you never would have thought that. I never would have thought that. And it's not in a bad thing. It's a good way. I just in a million years had this like surfer skater boy wild
Hmm.
man attitude who's now like super conservative, controlled, and into totally different things.
Yeah.
Hunting. Like, where
Yeah.
the heck did
Guns. And
hunting come from? I
I
never,
have no
I
idea.
never heard him talk about hunting when we were kids. And now that's like all he thinks about, like probably more than sex is hunting. And then like maybe once in a while sex, but definitely hunting.
He's got more chance of hunting. Just a marriage joke, folks. Just a marriage joke.
But
Oh,
and
I
if you
wish it was
guys
a
didn't
joke.
laugh at that, come on, that is, if you've been married long enough, that's hilarious.
Shoot,
But
it only takes a couple of years, guys. Oh, it takes a baby, maybe a
it's
baby.
true. But it does
Oh, it
make
takes-
a big difference to know what your love languages are. I really
yeah.
truly think that because I feel like from reading the book and learning, like the way I love is acts of service
Mhm.
and gift giving.
I can see
But
that. Totally.
the way that people like you like to be loved can be totally different than the way that you love. So for
Yeah.
me, I still like to be loved with um acts of service. I don't know if gift giving.
I think it depends on the gift.
I think it's gift giving if it comes from a place that you actually really thought about it.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, because like, I know for you, I know if I want to make you, if I want to make your day, really what I'm going to do is I'm going to get something thoughtful for Jet. And that's
Yeah.
going to make your, you know what I mean? I know, like, it's same with us. Like, if you really
Or
want to
bring
make my day,
coffee.
I'll bring, I'll bring coffee or a nice cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's like the gift giving thing is kind of shifted from like, give me something to like the thought out stuff. Yeah. And like you said, it could just be a cup of coffee when you need it. It could just be whatever when you need it. It could be a
Yeah.
nap when you haven't slept in
Oh,
3 or 4 days.
that's
That was
really
the
what it
best gift
is.
ever.
Yeah. Best gift ever. And it's the
Yeah.
consideration. It's acts of
Mhm.
consideration, you know, instead of having to tell somebody for someone just to be able to tell you. That's a
Yes.
huge gift. And
That
I
is one,
know, I'm
and you
sure
mentioned
Ash
that a
can
lot.
feel that way. I do mention that a lot.
That's important to know that. Like,
Uh-oh. You're frozen. Shoot.
can't hear you, Alec. Oh, you're on mute. Sorry, guys.
You're good. It froze. So we're
Oh, it's
back
okay.
up. So, but
So I
you're
was just
saying, yeah.
saying that, giving you guys the time together after, and then when you return the favor, knowing how really special that actually was,
Oh,
that was crazy,
yeah.
crazy. And that's the best thing that anyone could do for someone else. But I didn't know that. We didn't know that going into it. We just kind of like wanted to help in any way that we could. So, but I, my whole point was that like when you do know what it means, or when you do know what someone needs, and you do that for the person you love, like that's the kind of stuff that I think really speaks to you. And sometimes I do know what Ashley needs, or I do know what I should do. And I don't know, maybe it's immaturity. Maybe it's I think there's a constant like feeling of like, oh well, I'm not appreciated, or and it goes both ways. Like she feels unappreciated, and so you're constantly feeling unappreciated by each other. But the reality is that you guys are both building this beautiful life together, and you're working so hard in your separate ways, and you are appreciated in everything that you do. That if we could just put that into perspective, and speaking for myself, and put away that like when you're asked to do something, turn that little brain, that little part of your brain that's like, why are you asking more of me? Turn that shit off and
Yeah.
just try and do it, man. Just do it because you love them. And yeah,
Do
it's
you
hard on the day to day. It is hard on the day to day.
do you feel like you suffer from the what about me?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. I'm a selfish, insecure, immature young man. I have that in me. We all do, and I'll probably have it till I'm dead. But like, I'm better at it than I
And
was.
acknowledging it.
Yes, and recognizing it, like,
Yeah.
oh, it's my little, whatever, my little inner self, or you can call it your inner bitch, whatever,
Hmm.
whatever you want to call it, but it's in there, and unfortunately, it comes out more in regards to my wife than anyone else, or to myself, really, because how many times do we want to do something good for ourselves and we end up going like, and we end up wavering.
Oh, dude.
That's also it's the same. It's the same person. It's the same person. It's the same part of your brain that's like, hey, that could really help your wife out right now if you just did that. And you're like, I'll waiver and I'll go sitting down and ignore it instead. It's the
It's
same
like
piece.
that, better, do better
Mhm.
situation, And actually, to be honest, when it comes to Tom and I feel like we're really lucky in the fact that it's very symbiotic. His and I's relationship really works. One cannot work without the other. And we are really good about picking up pieces from each other. And I don't think that either one of us come from that what about me? Like, I just don't think that's in our nature. I do think
Right.
what happens is that we get really complacent and constantly living in that symbiotic place, that it just becomes life. And then you kind of tend to forget about the thank yous.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we tend to fall into that category. It's not necessarily one being like, oh, well, I did this, you should do this. For us, it's
Right.
more of like you just do it and you get so used to doing it that you tend to forget to take a pause and be like, well, I really appreciate you. I love the
Yeah.
person that you are. I appreciate all that you do. Thank you. I know that I am not good at that. And I know that he needs that. Like you, he does
Mhm.
like hearing, hey, how, not the how great I am necessarily from Tom, but it's like how much I need you, how much I appreciate you, how grateful and thankful I am for all that you do for this family. I think he needs to hear that more than I say, because I'm not a cuddly person.
Mhm.
I'm much more of a, I'll do something nice for you, but I'm not going to come over and like give you big hugs and cuddle. And I have to work on that. That's definitely
Yeah.
something I need to work on.
Oh, Ashley is similar. She's not the same. She's the same thing, man. Like, I mean, it's so funny. Like in the beginning, you are different, right? Like, so she was very cuddly. She would very much wanted to be like, oh, next to me and like, lay next to me. She'd even fall asleep, like with my arm around her the whole bit. Like, they used to drive me crazy,
Too hot.
crazy. I was like, get off me, woman. My arm's
Your
asleep.
arms asleep.
My arm's asleep, and I'm not. Like, get off me. Now, I'd give my arm to have some more of that. It's
You
just like
crave it.
not that she doesn't do it, but yeah, it's just not nearly as much. And to her credit, like she'll verbalize this really well. She goes, all day long, I'm grabbed at, pulled at, breastfeeding, screamed at, need snacks, need some by me. And then she has a baby. I'm kidding. By Johnny, he's doing that.
She's touched out. You make
No,
a
she's touched
really,
out.
that's a really real thing. And you make a
Mhm.
really good point on that, because I also suffer. But I struggle with, because I totally understand where Ashley's coming from. And I know that you can understand to a degree too. All day long, I'm being tugged at. All day long, I'm being climbed. My child lives in my face. I know I sent you that Snapchat where he's under my shirt, right? That's like he's a kangaroo baby just living in my papusa. Um, but that's how it is all day long. If you're not being screamed at, if you're not being pulled at, tugged at, touched at, sneezed on, coughed on, clothes being bit, you know what I mean? Like Jet starts this new thing where he likes to bite my pants or my shirt. I'm like,
Oh my
dude,
god.
anyways. But then by the end of the day, and then I have a dog who wants to be by me all the time, lay at my feet. I have two cats, one cat who sleeps on top of my head. One day I will post a picture so you guys can see. It's ridiculous,
Yes.
literally
Yeah.
on top of my head. The other cat is on my legs. Like there is not a time where something is not touching me. So when my husband comes home and wants to touch me, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
get off.
And
But
we're more comfortable saying no to the husband than anything else.
you're right. But here's the thing, who really deserves? I mean, obviously, my child does,
Yeah.
but my
Yeah.
husband 100% deserves my love and affection.
Yeah.
So I have to find it within me. It's like, even though I'm touched out, even though the last thing I want to do is cuddle, I want to maintain that connection with him, because it is
Right.
really easy. It doesn't change how much you love someone, but it does change your connection. Do you know what I mean? Like when
Yeah.
you go a long time without having intimate connections or moments, you kind of lose that touch where now you're just coexisting.
I can't handle it. I can't.
And
I
I can
will not.
understand. I can completely 100% understand how you would feel that way. I think
But
it's hard to remember for her, I'm sure,
yes,
that you need that connection as much because she's so touched out.
not for her. I'm in her ear all the time. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, you're right. But
Mosquito.
there is an agreement. There is an agreement.
Mhm.
And then sometimes I'm not good at it. But there's an agreement of like, hey, look, once Johnny goes to bed, like I need 30 minutes, an hour, something. I'm just like everything off me.
Mhm.
Just leave me physically alone. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean we can't go cook dinner. It doesn't mean we can't be in the same room. Just like not like
Don't touch me.
touch me, pretty much. And of course, like we walk by, you kiss with it. It's different. It's different than like the cuddling and all that. Like the needing, like come here. But I have a hard time with that. I
Yeah.
have a hard time with that because for whatever reason, like I said, like there's a lot of me that's still like, oh, like I'm a needy dude. I'm a needy dude. I have things that like physical needs where I'm like, I want to just hug, I want to kiss, I want to hold your
Yeah,
hand, I want an arm around you, I want to sit next to you. Um,
that's a huge part of who you are.
Part yeah, and like
Because
I'm a
I mean,
hugger.
you'll hug
If anyone,
anybody. Yeah, you're a huge
anybody,
hugger. Yeah.
any- anybody, which actually is nice because I get a lot of that. I get a lot of that at work.
That's not
I
the
work in
same
a
from your
gym.
spouse.
No, but it does. It does help. It does help. So like, I'll give you an example. When I'm home for X amount of time, like during COVID, like the beginning when things shut down, and then so I get no interaction with friends, no interaction with teammates, no interaction with students, no, like not even the fist bump, high five, none of that. Like, and then my wife doesn't want to be touched. It's like I feel very much like, oh,
Lost.
I feel yeah, it's terrible. And I didn't transfer it to my dogs. Maybe I should have. They would have been all about it. They would have been
Yeah.
like, yo, dad, get in here, bud.
Pet me
Go over the bed.
more.
Come on in. They would have been all about it. But it does plague on for me personally. It's a big thing. Some guys don't give a shit. Some guys are good. They're like, yo, I'm cool. Don't touch me. I'm good. Um, I'm not that guy. I'm a hugger. I'm a guy who's gonna be, not overly, but like if it's like if we're friends, like I'm gonna give you a hug. I'm gonna put my arm around you. Might like Tom for a long time. Like Tom, I don't know. He's not necessarily that way with his guy buddies. Not maybe a little bit, but like not as much as I am. So like I know I pushed the boundaries on him a little bit,
He
especially in the
loves it. Are
beginning.
you kidding?
He loves it now, but in the beginning, like I remember
He loves it now.
when you guys first moved in together, he would like work overnights, and then I would sleep on the couch or something. And he'd come home, and he'd go to the bed, and I'd run over to the bed and jump in there with him. And he was like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Bro, let's take a nap together." He was not. He was. He was not. He put up with it, but he wasn't necessarily about it.
Now he would get in bed and like pat the side next to him.
Oh,
Like,
he'd be
come
so.
here, buddy.
Come here, Mike. Yeah, he'd be sweet. Take a nap right now. But yeah, so for a guy like me, it could be it's hard. It's hard to for already my wife is not like a super cuddly person. Already she's not a super physical touch person. And then on top of that, she's already burned out.
Mhm.
And I'm the opposite. So it can be difficult in that sense, but it's very difficult on her to know that, oh, my husband, it's almost like pressure. It's like, oh, my husband needs this, craves this, and wants this. And I'm like, don't want to give it to him. And so
That's my situation too. I totally get it. I
which can
will
turn into a
say
what about me? It can turn into that. It can turn
it
into like, well, I
can.
don't want to do anything for you then. Like, you suffer in the kitchen. I don't want to help you, which isn't right. It's not right. But we're human. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes I can default to that where it's like, well, I don't want to help you then. Like, we're not even connected. Cool. Well, that's cool. Go to you. I'll stay over here.
Which makes your
Not right.
relationship so much harder. And
Mhm.
I've tried, it's funny that we got into this conversation because this wasn't, I don't even think either one of us intended for knew where this was going to go. But
No.
I have been trying to be so cognitive of that for a couple weeks now. So I've made a point of like when he gets home or if we're cooking dinner, I will hug him and I hug him for like 30 seconds. Just try, like I know that's not like the same as getting in bed and cuddling, but I'm trying to create that physical connection for at least 30 seconds a day, just hugging, because I know that he deserves it. And like you, I know he wants it. And but for him, he doesn't like he kind of just Tom's such an easygoing person that he just
Yeah.
lets it go. You know what I mean? Like he just
Yeah.
lives with it. And for me, it hurts me because I know that I'm touched out, but I know how much he deserves it and wants it. So now I feel like it's my place. Like I have to step up and make sure it happens because he'll go with the flow and he'll never say anything about it. But you can start to feel like even though your love never fades, your connection is not as strong. And so like you have to rebuild that. And so I'm trying to be on top of that. Maybe, I don't know. It's so hard because I totally understand where Ash is coming from and I understand
Yeah.
where you're coming from.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it is I can also put myself in her shoes and take that perspective and I see it. I totally see it clearly. It doesn't change everything. It doesn't make me perfect. Doesn't make me go, okay, well, I'm not gonna push the issue because there is a part of me that says if I don't push the issue, we could drift physically apart, like, and not out of intention, just out of circumstance. Like we could just okay, well, I'm not gonna touch her, she ain't gonna touch me. Like, we can end up being roommates, and I don't want that either.
No, that's
You
not what
know,
you married.
no, it's not. And I think it really does serve the way we started this whole thing was like, how come someone can get mad when you're mad?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it's a funny thing, but it happens. And it's like, well, then your husband needs something, even if he goes with the flow, it still makes you upset because you're like, well, I know he's giving up something. But it's like a funny thing. Like he's not even putting it on you, but you put it on yourself. We do
Mhm.
that with our spouses. We do that. It's a good thing. It's a bad thing. It's whatever. It's a thing, right? It's a thing that we do. And we need to be careful of not getting mad at the other person for needing something, even if they're not asking for it. Like it's a find we have to like find a balance of ourselves and the other person. That's what makes marriage hard. That's what makes this, you know, work.
Yeah.
But it also makes it worth it. Like you got someone in your corner for life. You got someone who's working to help you out for life. Like this is not this is not my first marriage, right? Ideally, this is my only marriage. Ideally, like of course anything can happen, and I'm not naive enough to sit here and say nothing will ever
Right.
like anything can happen. I get it.
But the goal is
Um,
for life.
but the goal is for life. And the goal is like figure this thing out. Let's make this as smooth as possible. Let's find a groove that we're both happy and that we both get enough, you know, of what we want because we're not always, it's not always going to be what I want. It's not always going to be what she wants. It's going to be give and take. And there's going to be time for, you know, Joni needs me and or her or whatever. And like the other person's going to be, you know, hey, sorry, he's priority number one right now. And that's okay too. It's just understanding why the other person's upset before you get upset. That's the hard part. That's the trick. That's the key. Is like, can I understand their frustration before I get frustrated? If you can do that, you're a master. If you
Well,
can't do
and
that,
what can I do to put the fire out before it even starts? Because sometimes that plays a big difference in it too. You know, like
yeah,
instead of
totally. But you can't do that
igniting the
without understanding.
fire, right?
Right. No, but you're right. You're right. Like try to get ahead of it. The only way to get ahead of it is to understand it.
Mhm.
So yeah.
It makes me laugh. I don't know why I keep thinking about this, but I remember a couple years ago when Tom's grandma, before she passed, her and Tom's grandpa have been married for a really long time. And she would tell me that when they would get in arguments, they would get naked and sit like cross-legged across from each other and hold hands and then stare into each other's eyes and talk about their argument. But she was like, the reason why we did that is because it puts you in your most vulnerable state. And then to open up and talk about what had just occurred and how are we going to move forward from it. And it's funny because I do not foresee me ever sitting butt naked with Tom butt naked, staring at each other like that. But I did the other day. We were getting Jet ready for bed, and that's always like family time for us. And then I was like, I think we should stare into each other's eyes for 1 minute. You know, and like he goes along with most anything that I say because he's sweet like that. He was like, okay. So we sat there and we stared into each other's eyes. And it's funny because in that moment, like this is the person you're most connected to in your whole life. It is so awkward. At first,
Yeah.
it's so awkward. You're like, oh God, just look away. Why are you staring at me? But then the longer you do it, it kind of breaks down those walls of awkwardness. And then you're really like seeing the person.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I felt the need to bring this up, but I think it was more of like, it just made me think of that vulnerability, how important that is, because it's so easy to stack up resentment and it's so easy to stack up frustration or just let the days kind of pass you by and get in this routine. But the importance of being vulnerable with your spouse. So like even when you're upset or just breaking down walls so that you guys can see each other, communicate and connect. I think that's where I was getting to. It's like
No,
just that can creating a connection.
so when you say that they were, I'm not being funny. You said that they undress, they sit cross, like they hold hands.
Yeah. So
Okay,
they sit
because
like they would sit on the bed across from each other, cross-legged, and hold hands and
I
stare
love that.
into each other's eyes.
I love that. I mean, for multiple reasons. Like, I think if it was me and Ash, I'd be the only one naked, and that's fine. You know, just sit there naked with her. But
You'd be
like,
there naked anyways,
I,
regardless if it
I
was.
really would be. But you know, the physical touch. I've heard that before. Like, it's hard to be mad at someone when you're touching them. like if you're holding hands and like talking about it, it's hard to stay like at each other. If you get that level and you just stop and like hold each other's hands, like it almost dissipates a little bit of that. It takes a little bit off. Like you realize, like, oh,
Yeah.
this is not my enemy. It's still my person. Like, so I love all the components of that. I love, the awkward staring in the eyes. I think that's really, honestly, it's smart to like
You
do
guys
things
should
like
try
that.
it.
I'll give it a shot. I don't know if she will. I'll give it a
Ash is gonna
shot,
think
but
it's so freaking weird.
totally. But and like life's weird. We're weird. It's all right.
Life is weird, yeah. I'm sure we do weirder things.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, but that's part of the process of like figuring out how to get through things together in the most peaceful way possible. Like it's not just about like I'm gonna get my point across to this person. I'm gonna shove it down their throat. And they're gonna hear me. It's also like I'm gonna give them my most open, vulnerable point, not the harshest way I can deliver it. Because you know me, as much as I'm like a cuddly, want to hold hands and the whole bit, like I can also be a freaking dagger of a man. I can be sharp and I can be quick and I can be very outright mean
Yeah, you
if I
have
want
that
to be.
sharp tongue.
I do, and a lot of that's why I fight. Like I have that inside me. Like there's a lot of it there. I don't like to feel vulnerable. I don't like to feel insecure. I don't like to feel weak. And so the opposite end of that is overcorrection. And I'm trying to work on that as well. And
See,
so
that's what I was saying, the vulnerability.
yeah, that's why I really like that. I really like that. And it's something that doesn't feel good. So like there's a weird mantra I have in my head about stuff. It's like the levels of doing things, of discipline, the levels of this. Like the first level of discipline is doing things you don't like, but like you kind of like grimace through it, right? Force yourself. The second level of discipline is doing things you like, but almost emotionless. Like you just go through the motions. And then like the third level, highest level of like discipline is to like do things that you don't like necessarily, but then to enjoy it, to start to enjoy the process, to start to enjoy these things. That's like the next level. And being vulnerable, man, it's so hard. Like I can grimace through it. I'm at level
Mhm.
one. I can like, you made me feel sad. Like,
I don't like showing you my true colors.
the tear comes down.
Yeah.
Like that. It's got something in both my eyes.
Yeah, it's just dust.
So it's just level one. I'm level one, and like level two, I'll be like kind of going through it without too much of that, and then eventually I want to enjoy that opening. Open up. Like even this is vulnerability too. Like
For sure.
this is you, right? Sure, but like we're talking about opening this up to the masses, and it might be 10 other people, whoever listens to this. It might just be my mom, but
my mom, two people.
our moms might just pop on this and
Thanks,
listen.
moms.
Hi, moms. But there is a vulnerability in that too, and sharing things and saying things that other people are going to hear. Because I can talk to you, and I can be fairly vulnerable. I'm probably not as much as as I really could be, but it's definitely more than the normal day, more than the normal interaction. But this is practice. This is a good practice for me too. These podcasts mean a lot to me.
Yeah, same. But I think that was kind of, if I'm not mistaken, I feel like that was our purpose in this, because there's so many, it's so easy to see one person's side of something or relate to that. Like obviously I can relate to moms a lot, or I can relate to women a lot, but I'm not a man. There's certain things I can relate to you about, but I don't live that life. I don't walk in those shoes. So as much as I can try to understand, I might not be able to. So I feel like the purpose of our podcast is to really open the doors for people to be able to understand, hear, and appreciate both sides, which I hopefully we do a good job at, which is my whole reason of asking you, tell me why it's okay for you to be mad when I'm mad.
Right. Which leads us down this
whole rabbit hole. Yeah, it is. But it's true. I think opening up that vulnerability is really hard. I have suffered with that, man, I think my whole life. And it's funny, I know that's why you and I stayed such good friends. For people who might not understand this, I think that we stayed long-term friends, and through high school, it was really easy for us to not get into serious relationships because you and I were vulnerable enough with each other emotionally, and then we're able to find the physical things elsewhere.
Right.
And when we found our spouses, it kind of changed this whole shift. It's like, okay, well, now this person deserves my vulnerability 100%
Right.
and the physical part of it. So you're giving it all over.
Hmm.
And it is really easy when altercations happen or you're stressed or tired to kind of shut that off and not open up to your spouse like you should, which
Right.
is another part of communication. Like in
Yeah.
order to talk about it and work through it, you have to open that up. You have to know that your feelings might be hurt. You might not agree. You might get in an altercation, not physical, but just
Right.
a verbal altercation, but letting those walls down. I mean, think how far Ashley and you have come.
Yeah.
Because Ashley's one of the most understandably so guarded people. And
Hmm.
she's so strong. I mean, that woman is built from,
I don't know what.
blocks. Like, I don't know, like
Yeah.
concrete blocks. She's so strong. And I know
Yeah.
she doesn't like people to see other sides of that, but just how far you guys have come in your relationship. Like, yeah, I know you guys have things. Everyone has something,
Right. Right.
but it's
No, I
hard to
mean,
remember how far you've come when you live it every single day.
I can remember the moment that I was like, oh, okay, like I'm breaking through. You know what I mean? Like, okay, but this is a different level that we've gotten to. I remember it like it was yesterday, sitting in the car with her outside of the Hidden Hills apartment or whatever, like back in the day. And
When rich.
that's what it was, yeah. And just sitting in the car and talking, just talking, and then hearing things that I knew that not a lot of people had heard, that only a few people had heard, and feeling that moment of like, oh, this is special. And like, unfortunately, or fortunately, I can't tell. I'm a super open book, man. Like, if anyone in the world wants to sit down, like they're like, hey man, tell me about this. I'm like, okay, you sure? You just open a can of worms. I'm very open, but like at the same time, there are things that she and I talk about that not a lot of people have heard, not a lot of people know about me.
Mhm.
There's levels. Like I can talk your ear off about so many things about feeling weak, feeling like being scared, going to jail, drinking to cope with problems and things that I couldn't deal with otherwise. And
Mhm.
I could talk your ear off about drugs, and substances, and being around and putting myself in bad positions, and being around things that I shouldn't have been around. I'm an open book about that stuff. I'm talking about fighting, like physically getting
Mhm.
prepared to step in a cage with another man and going in front of thousands of people on
Mhm.
TV, and the feelings of overwhelming, crippling, insidious fear and anxiety. Like, I can talk a lot, but there's certain things that with my wife we go a step beyond all of that, deeper level than all that. But we don't do it every day, and it's easy to forget, and it's easy to get caught up in the here and now
It
and the selfishness
is.
of it. It sucks,
It
but
is.
it is.
You just made me think like I remember when we were younger and Tom and I were living together and he was still smoking and we would go sit out on the balcony and have the best conversations. Just talk about your day, talk about what you're feeling, what you're thinking. And I think like I want so badly, and we still sometimes do it, but not like we should. Like listening to you think, you made me think about last week. There was a point where we had t- Jet was eating dinner and we were doing stuff, but we had sat down for a second. And instead of him like throwing on a YouTube video or me throwing something on, we paused it and it got into a conversation we would have never got into had we not taken the moment to sit down and talk to each other. And God, life just gets, it's a stupid excuse. Life gets really busy.
So
But
stupid.
hearing you say that just made me realize like I need to have more conversations like that. Like I
Well,
need to turn it off and be present or put the phone down and be present. And
I'll take it a step further. I'll take it a step further than that. We need to find space to continue being ourselves, to continue having stuff to talk about. Because if the only thing we ever talk about is, hey, how's work? How's this? How's the baby? And we don't get to learn anything about each other anymore, that's when the conversations start to stop, and it's hard to do that. It's hard to do. How do you do that when you're full time? Like,
It's
you're working
hard.
full time, you're a parent full time. Like, when is there space to figure out who Allie is today?
You're totally right. And I'm definitely 100% suffering from that right now. Like Tom asked me the other day, he's like, "Hey, how's your blog doing? How's podcasting going?" And I looked at him and I'm like, "I haven't blogged in like a month." And Mike
Yeah.
and I haven't podcasted in weeks. And it's
Mhm.
crappy because I'm not willing to give it up, but I'm fighting something internally.
Yeah.
Not so much with podcasting. I really feel like this has just been a case of wild things that have happened that have just led us that we have tried and it hasn't worked, or just certain things have kind of gotten in the way. But with blogging, I don't have an excuse as why I haven't got on my blog and posted something,
Right.
other than I am lacking the confidence in myself to do so. But that, like,
Yeah.
that's my escape, that's my thing, and I
Yeah.
haven't done it.
I've been, I almost said I'll do you one better. I keep saying that. I'm not trying to one up her, folks.
It's
I
not a
just get,
competition,
it's
Mike.
not, so sorry. I'm not trying to, no, but going along the same lines. Me, I practice out of the love of learning. I personally still feel insecure about my fighting and being able to keep myself and others safe. It's a constant thing. It'll never go away. Maybe it'll go away, but I don't foresee that happening. So I train and I love it. I really love it. I really enjoy it. But there are so many times where it feels like a job, it feels like a chore, and I'd rather do something else. And as of late, I have been going off and on. I've been taking days off too. And it really, what the problem is the energy behind it is not positive anymore, or right now in this moment. I'm not feeling positive about training. I'm not feeling positive about going and learning. I'm not feeling positive about doing the things that typically bring me tons of joy and always make me feel better. Even on my worst days, when I leave, I feel better. Probably on your worst blog, you still felt good about getting it out there. So I don't know if it's ups and downs or whatever, but it does happen. Definitely is a thing, and that's the fight. The fight is to continue to try and be positive about the things that we love. I mean, we're talking about a blog and a sport, but you can go further on and about our spouses. Like we have to remember, like, oh my God, no, I really love this, and my perspective at this moment is a little bit flawed, and it could be flawed for a week, it could be flawed for a month, it could be flawed for however long. But I have to remember that this is what I'm about to do. And so I'm taking steps to try and motivate myself to get back to. I feel you. I feel you. Like, you're not
I know,
blogging.
I feel you too.
I'm not training the
No,
way I should be training.
that's
You know?
really funny that we kind of segued into this, because I literally had the conversation with my mom the other day, and I said, I don't know if there's a part of it that is my ADD. And I think after having Jet, for some reason, it got worse. My ADD has gotten worse. And so I've gotten to this place where I get really pumped, really excited. I will put in all the research, all the work, and I'll do it. And I put my heart and soul into it. But when it doesn't bring me that instant gratification of success anymore, or I feel like I've hit a goal and I haven't necessarily set goals outside of that, it's like I don't want to say I move on, because I don't think that's what it is, but I get either down on myself because it's not as successful as I thought it was going to be, or it hasn't blown up like I thought it would,
Right.
or and all it's like I don't know how to say this. Like, I feel like it's like the universe testing me, because the universe is like, how bad do you want it? Like,
Yeah.
are you going to let it get to the point where just because it doesn't blow up, or just because it's not as successful, like, prove us wrong? Is this going to be where it doesn't get that? So you're like, oh, shoot, well, dang, guess I can't do it. Time to move on to something else. Or is this going to be a make it or break it of no, keep going, keep grinding, do it because you love it, not because
Mhm.
of what it brings to you,
Yes.
and prove us wrong. And I feel
Yeah.
like I am right in that fine line right now of do it because you love it, not because of what it brings you. And I'm having
That's
to like climb back up the rope of that. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah, I do. I do. I'm literally going through it. I mean, it's so funny. I love that you're saying all this stuff, because it's so in line. And I'd imagine that this lines up with a lot of people. And maybe you're not feeling it today. Maybe you are on point and you're crushing it, crushing everything you want to do. but it might hit you later. But I had a fight lined up for October 30th, with a few of my teammates. We're all gonna go on the same car. We're gonna jump right back into work and the
Oh,
whole
you
thing.
did? I didn't know
I
that.
did. Yeah, I did. But it wasn't a fight that I liked. And I tried to talk myself into it. And I tried to tell myself that this is good, stay active. And it got to the point where the contracts were coming out. And once I put my name to paper, it's on. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do it. I couldn't bring myself to do it. I didn't want to do it. There was no love behind it. There was no life. It was a chore. And I didn't want to go into it feeling like a chore.
Hmm.
And I had to pass on the opportunity and be true to myself, knowing that like I wasn't doing it because I loved it. I was doing it because I thought I had to. And that was a mistake.
Hmm.
It would have been even if I would have won, like, it would have been a result that I didn't, it would have come out of a bad place,
Yeah.
So I had to be true to myself and get back to learning and loving it before I get back in the cage. I don't want to force myself into anything.
You feel like you're in
It's
a
kind of
weird place with that right now?
totally. I mean, there's like the sense of like you owe people stuff. And I don't. I don't.
Yeah.
I had a fight. It was a good showing, but I didn't win. And so they wanted me back and it was excitement. So like, it felt good to be wanted. It felt good to be presented with an option. It felt good to like get back on the horse, but I didn't want to do it,
Hmm.
and then like I said yes, even though I didn't want to. And I'm like, we talked about this before with doctors and stuff. You almost feel like you have to. Like, no, you don't.
No, you
No,
don't.
you don't. You don't. And you almost try and say, like, no, I do want to do this. I do want to do this. You try to convince yourself. And you really got to get that part right first before you go and commit to something. I think personally, at least for myself, I have to get myself mentally right before I go and commit myself to a task. Because when I give the task, I want to give my all. It's my name on it. It's my brand. It's my career, whatever you want to call it.
It's who you
It's
are.
more, yeah, it's more than my career. Exactly. It's part of it. How I do this. It should be. It showcases parts of me. It's. I always say that fighting is not. It's not. It doesn't make you. It just reveals kind of who you are. Like there's a lot of things that do that, but that's definitely one of them. It doesn't.
Mhm.
It won't change you. It's just going to reveal who you are and what you put
Right.
into it. It's going to show. And I think that the first step is getting back to loving it, getting back to the reality of like, not, you don't have to blog. Like for you don't have to blog. You don't got to put a single word that you don't want to write. You don't have to do it at all. Don't do it. If you don't feel like doing it, don't do it. You don't have to. No one's to force you. No one's going to know anything. No one's going to care. No one's going to come down on you. You're totally free of it. There's no burden on that. You don't have to podcast. We don't have to release a single episode. We could totally do this, leave it where it's at and walk away. And there's no problem. I wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't have wasted a single minute. I've enjoyed every minute talking to you. I'd be totally fine with that. But if you do love it, and if you do want to continue, do it out of that space first. Blog out of love, blog and podcast out of love. And that space, that's what brings the best material. I compete out of the love for it. I teach out of the love for it. And if I don't, it comes out with something subpar. It's not the best. It's not my best. And I'm not proud of it. But when I do it out of the right space, it's the best feeling in the world.
It's just, I'm like blown away that we're having this conversation because I think you hit the nail on the head. I really feel like I'm going through this place of changing my expectation or remanaging my expectation of it, because the reason why I started the blog was something for me, is to give me an outlet to express my feelings on what I've been going through, kind of just giving me an open space and hey, maybe there's people who have kind of like this podcast, there's people who could go along and understand or have been there or enjoy reading it. Or the reason why we started this podcast is because one, you and I are so good at just talking, and there are people out there who can completely relate. This blog was never started to make tons of money. My blog was never started to make tons of money. Could it go in that direction? Yeah, but I have to remind myself that's not why I did it. And I feel like you're giving me this like epiphany moment of remembering, Allie, I didn't start this blog to be rich and successful. I started it to give myself an outlet. I didn't start this podcast to be rich and successful. We started it to give ourselves an outlet that we have fun with, that maybe other people can jump in and have fun with it too. And it's like you're fighting. You never started fighting to make money. That's not what it was. It was to give you an outlet of a passion.
Yeah, it turned into it. But
Right. And that's what I'm saying. It's turned into, so it's like now that I like, and I have to remind myself, like, just because I'm not seeing the numbers that I wanted,
Mhm.
remember why I did this. It wasn't for
Yeah.
that to start with.
I mean, you're 100% right. And when you relate it to fighting, it's like I was very okay not making a ton of money, especially when I was alone. Like I was totally cool. I think I told you, living in my car. Like I would be
Yeah.
cool with that, doing what I love to do,
In the
being
Jimmy.
happy in the gym. Yeah, like in the gym, in the gym. Um, obviously, things changed with the family and the wife and all that, and like that's fine because my teaching has taken that spot. My teaching has given me the chance to share my passion, and it's financially beneficial. My fighting is my own. Look, if I end up going out and making, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars one day, fantastic.
But
If
that's
I
not
don't
what it
make,
was pointed to.
if I don't hit those numbers, that's not necessarily what I'm after. When I do that, it is a personal thing. It makes me feel a personal kind of way, special kind of way. And it gives me something that I need to give myself. It is the most selfish act that I do. And it is my peace. It is my place of like, okay, I can give a lot of myself to my students, to my wife, to my son, to my family, because I can refill that cup with
Because you
my
have to keep something for you.
my fighting. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and now this podcast as well,
Yeah.
right? As this is another piece for me as well. I get a lot out of this. I
Same.
really do. Yeah.
I do too. I'm glad we talked about that really, because I have been struggling. I struggle with that on like, we've had this conversation so many times on like health wise, knowing what to do, but then not implementing it.
The discipline levels,
It is. And I told my mom, like, I really just feel like I get in this place where I can kick ass for 3 months, 4 months, and be phenomenal. And then all of a sudden it's like, forget it. Clearly I'm not getting, you know what I mean? But things that are
yeah,
great take time.
yes, they
And
really do.
I'm tired of living in this cycle of 3 months, nothing, 3 months, nothing, 3 months, nothing. Like, to put myself in a mindset, I like, just do it. Just do it and
Yeah,
see what happens. Do it without expectation.
it's yes. I mean, 100% yes. It's so hard to do it sometimes. I don't know why, but yeah, I mean, we're both in a very similar spot. And like I said, this might be hitting home for so many listeners. It might not be making any sense to some of you listeners, like you freaking babies whining about nothing.
Just do it.
Fair enough, bro. You could be like Nike and just out there saying, just do it. Yeah, it could be that simple. It really, really could be. But just to kind of close it out and kind of try and like bring it back to the core of it is like, I understand what you're saying. I've felt the same things. I'm feeling the same things you're feeling. And remember that, like you said, it all came from a place of love. There is no expectation. There is no force behind it. And I'm talking to myself when I'm saying this as well. No one expects us to do this stuff. We're just doing this as a selfish, kind act to ourselves. It's a little bit of self-love. Maybe it takes a little self-discipline, but it really comes from self-love. Like that's what it is really at the end of the day. When I go train, when you blog, when we podcast, it might take some discipline. We might have to finagle some things. We might have to schedule it. But at the end of the day, it takes a little self-discipline, but it is love. It is self-love.
Yeah.
It's the way we take care of ourselves.
Yeah. And just coming down to, in so many ways, managing expectations and sometimes remanaging that, changing
Yeah.
it, change your expectations on your life, your family, your spouse, work, whatever. Sometimes you have to change expectations or remind yourself why you did it in the first place. But we appreciate you guys sitting down with us and taking the time to listen to our podcast. We look forward to the next one. As always, please give us a like on Instagram. You can watch us on YouTube. I won't edit it, but it'll be up there for you to watch. We so enjoy you guys being here for us. If you have any questions, let us know, but we look forward to chatting with you next time.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
Peace out.